Welcome back to Psychotic PY Podcast. This is episode 9. I cannot believe we've gotten here this far. We have two special guests this week with us, Saskia and Lucy. They have a platform called What Nobody Told Us. So we're really excited to have them join us this week.
Hi.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
So we'll have you guys introduce yourselves as people and professionals, but they're both moms and ladies who have a lot to teach people. So take it away.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us. I am Saskia. I am a human being and a woman and a mother, and trying to spin all the plates that we all do. Recently set up What Nobody Told Us together with Lucy, with a mishmash of backgrounds, but recently I've spent a lot of time working in healthcare and health technology, trying to bring new innovations in across kind of women's health and other spaces. So I have kind of lived and breathed this both personally and professionally, I would say. And Lucy and I are old friends too.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm a doctor. I am a mum and stepmom of 3 girls, and one, potentially a girl, don't know yet, on the way. Started off in a different specialty, but now working in general practice. So I've always been really interested in women's health. And Saskia and I, as Sas said, we've been friends for years, and we've always had this underlying thing where we've wanted to work together and do something together because this has been such a passion for us. And it was just finding our niche and how we could put that, let's say passion, anger. There's a lot of anger, I think.
Yeah.
I understand that.
And I think becoming a doctor later has definitely given me a confidence of sort of going, no, it doesn't have to be like this. And yeah, without going into too much of sort of more of what we've been doing, I think it's just us coming together to be how can we make it better for other people?
Awesome. So how did the idea come to you guys? Is it because you've been friends for so long? This is something you guys always just went back and forth with, just talking about casually? Or was there one triggering event that made you be like, that's it, we need to help people?
So I kind of feel like it was lots of different things, really, and then there was one trigger. But I mean, ever since Lucy and I became friends, myself and all of our other mates will turn to Lucy incessantly for any kind of doctor advice, even before she had trained, had her medical training. She was our font of knowledge, and we've kind of laughed about that on and off, that Lucy's kind of our go-to often before our GPs, just for that initial sounding board. So that was happening. I was working in an area of women's health that was focused on women's health hubs, which is this really brilliant initiative all about delivering kind of care to women, in specialist centres all around the country. So you would be able to go and you could go and see a specialist about your coil or about fertility or about there were various different things they were going to focus on. And it just sounded incredible. And then when you kind of dug a bit deeper, actually, lots of the funding hadn't been ring fenced. It had been swallowed up in other things. And all of the hubs, not a sweeping statement, but the majority of the hubs that had actually been set up were set up by people trailblazing women who were going to go above and beyond. And I was just there was that frustration brewing. I was looking at my now 9-year-old daughter and thinking how are you going to navigate all of this, and how am I going to help you when I struggle to navigate it and I don't know really basic answers. So we were talking about that, and then in December of last year, so December 2024, this report landed called the Women's Health Reproductive Conditions Report, I think. And it was looking into any progress that had been made in the current landscape for anything to do with reproductive health. And long and short of it is, it's just shit. It's shit. It was shit before, and it isn't getting any better. And it was just such a harrowing read. And I turned to Lucy and I was like, what is going on with this? This is so bad. And it's at every level, from at the education system, how we teach children, even up to healthcare professionals not having the depth of knowledge in areas that they need to. So that kind of started us talking about like what could be done to try and really, like, you know, actually make some change and do something positive. And so we turned to our community around us and we asked them lots and lots of questions. And it turned out that really, like, nobody, apart from the doctors that we spoke to, really knew anything. Like, our basic knowledge about kind of these reproductive health conditions that are really common, like fibroids, like endometriosis, like, you know, the list of them, even to like naming our own anatomy, like it was just these incredibly smart women who were like, I don't know, endometriosis is something that Lena Dunham has. Like, that was the kind of the extent of the answers. It was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is something we need to kind of discuss it at this level. So I think, yeah, lots of like undercurrents of fury over the years. And then this, like, the report landed and the stats, which were all like swept across the media, these like horrible, you know, waiting list times and 8 years for a diagnosis, like that, I think was the thing that made us go, right, this enough. Let's try and do something about it.
Ooh, good. That's a really good answer. So it was like building for a while, which is fueling the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we knew we wanted to do something together that would sort of try and tackle this. But I think that doing the survey really gave us the focus, because it was just this echo over and over again from women of why don't we know the answers to these questions, and why, or all people with, you know, reproductive health issues, why is it a mystery until it happens to me, or till I go through some trauma, or until I have a child and have to explain it to them? Why is there this almost like 15th century witchcraft mysticism about, which I'm literally having at the moment, trying to apply for mat leave, and it's like the full moon before you're like, oh my god,
oh my god, the wording on the mat leave form, they make you do some crazy math. You're like, I don't know.
why is it so still shrouded in, like literally the word confinement, like it's still used, and there's so many things like that keep going on, that just wind us up no end. And yeah, that's where the name came from. What nobody told us was why are we just clueless for so long until it happens to us.
Absolutely. What are some of the scariest knowledge gaps that you've seen? Like, what are some things people ask you and you're like, oh my gosh, we don't even know that?
So I think what's scary is how common some of the things are. Like, it's always quite, it sounds awful saying basic, but it's the frequency of the same things coming up, and you just think, how has this not come up sooner for you? That genuinely worries me. Also, not to sort of toot my own horn, but something that really worries me is how often I get, oh, I feel really listened to, thank you, I've never felt listened to like this. And you're like, okay, why? That's really worrying. And I now have it, I literally had it today, and I have it most weeks. I will see a girl aged like 8 to 12, and if it's anything where I can get it in, I will be like, okay, so let's practice talking to doctors, and it's practice being open with each other, because it's really important. You're going to speak to some doctors who maybe don't want to talk about these things, and that's okay. You go to another doctor straight after. Getting that in, because I think it starts really young, and I think that's the fear, the scary thing I get when I'm talking to women, you know, our age or older or young, whatever, where I think, oh, okay, this is happening for you the first time you're 40. Like, that really freaks me out.
But I think we were discussing how, like, and I don't know if it's the same in the US. I don't know how, like, the education, how it's tackled for children. But when we were at school, you were basically just taught that the girls, you're going to start your period, you're going to bleed every month, and this is, you know, this is how long a cycle is. Like, obviously nobody's cycle is like that, but that's a side point. It's going to be really painful, and like, don't get pregnant. Like, that was almost the end of the lesson. Like, nothing else beyond that. There was no talk about kind of literally anything beyond starting a period. And I've been kind of, I've talked a bit on our platform and like very openly with my friends about how I was using the wrong words for my own anatomy until I was like 31, and I went to this incredible Eve Appeal event, which was all about like how important it was to name a girl's and like a name female anatomy from like from your baby's age. So you start kind of, rather than using like nunu and all these like terrible words. Sorry, I know that some people, I'm looking at Stud loves that word, but
I don't. I literally say fandango, and I'm literally there. And I go, it's vulva and vagina, and then obviously it was slip out like fandango. I'm like, oh no, I've done it
again. No fandangos allowed here. It's vulva, but I was like, oh my god, it's a vulva. I've been calling it a vagina for all these years, and I had to go to my 3-year-old and be like, hey, you know, we were being like really like clever, and we said it was a vagina. It's actually not. It's a vulva. And she was like, what? What are you talking about? But I've kind of talked about that and how like, oh my god, it's so like embarrassing. I've got so much shame, and then I've been thinking about it recently, and I was like, God, I mean, as women, we carry shame about so many things, but like, we were not taught this stuff. We weren't taught it. There was just so many gaps of knowledge. And I think that I'm obviously coming at this not from a medical clinical background. And the thing that has amazed me is just like at every single stage, women are being let down. And it's not like there isn't a particular area where it's like, where we're getting loads of questions. It's like the whole breadth. And sometimes it is as simple as like, what is the name for this thing? It's like, yeah,
definitely. I would say it's the same in the States education wise. It's really just like, this is what a period is. And they separate boys and girls. And then it wasn't until med school where they were like, you know, LH, you know, FSA, and you're like, oh, what? There's like so many different parts to the cycle. Like, I was like, how do I not know this? I have this.
I think the only difference is Fandango for us is where we buy movie tickets, but
okay.
So that's the only difference.
It's like a whole Fanny Bum situation all over again.
Yes, yeah.
I think also the shame that comes with it all. Like, something I really hate is, so you grow up and you're told like, don't get pregnant, and then you try and get pregnant, and it's quite hard sometimes, and for a lot of people, and therefore you think you're doing something wrong. And it's only when you maybe speak to other women going through the same thing, or certainly things like miscarriage and, you know, infertility, secondary infertility, whatever it is. I think the fact that because it's made to feel so normal that don't look at a boy, you'll get pregnant when you're at school. Yeah. You think, well, I'm clearly doing something, or my body is doing something seriously wrong. And I think that is where there's that intersection of like shame and lack of education. And it's really, really life-changing and upsetting for a lot of people that they don't have the background knowledge of, there's a time of the month where it's more likely to happen. Just something as simple as that isn't out there until you're in your doctor's office 6 months after trying, being like, it's not happening. It shouldn't be constant revelations.
Yeah, that is the big one. I would say people always are like, wait, what? Like, I have to do this when I'm ovulating? And you're like, yeah. Otherwise, it doesn't really work.
Which is now this obsession with ovulation and spending loads of money on ovulation sticks. And I'm like, well, if you peed on something and it's go time, it may not be go time. You may now be too late, because those little guys need to be sitting there waiting. And the pressure that then couples are putting on themselves. And so you see that, and you see couples, you know, arguing, and you're like, oh no, like, because there's then the sort of marketing angle of, it's just, it's really dark. And it's like, if you just understood your cycle when you were 13.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you understood that you have a cycle that is your cycle, that is not like anybody else's cycle. And that's something that I've like found insane recently. When you kind of read up about like what is normal, because that's a big thing that's coming up right now around like, what is normal? It's like, actually, when it comes to like women's health stuff, there is not really a normal, because our bodies are incredible and they all do very different things, but also because there's never been enough research so that we don't actually know what your body's doing. And that's a whole other thing. But particularly when it comes to periods, like everyone's cycle is basically different. Like it's unique. And I'm saying that maybe studies like, shut up, Saskia, that's not actually true. But like there's this study that you guys might have seen in the New Yorker that was looking at like a group of women, and they tracked their menstrual cycles, and like nobody in that group of 300-400 women had anything that resembled the way that we kind of track this is of how many days and this and this and this and this. Like nobody had that 28-day cycle.
I think it's very much like Bridget. I think you mentioned, is it Christina Criado Perez's book in one of your podcasts?
Yes. Love.
Yeah, but how there is no average. So if you measured like the average person, and you took the average height and weight and waist circumference and neck circumference, everything, and made the average thing, no actual person would fit in that thing. And I'm sure it's from that book. And it's a bit like that. And it's like, when you sit there and you go, well, the normal cycle is 21 to 35 days. And as the words come out your mouth, you're like, well, that's huge. Like,
yeah.
It's the same for so much of it. And yet we women take away 28 days. And if I'm different, I'm weird. I'm just going to list so many things that even like later, like having been a doctor for a while. And I'm sure, Bridget, obviously you're literally specializing in this, so you must then have the whole thing of like, oh God, what I learned was wrong.
Yeah, always.
But I don't know. Is it like that for neurology, or like, I don't know, orthopedics? Like, is it what I feel like there's this added layer of mysticism because it's about early bits.
Yeah, definitely. And for so long, I mean, still now, I don't know why I'm saying for so long, like this is how it still works. We ask you like, do you know anything about your mother's cycle or your sister's? Because that's the only knowledge. We have no research. So we just go, when did your mom go through menopause? Because we assume maybe you'll be similar. How is that any like...
No, it's an absolute...
Is it that loose? Is that the loose connection then, that we kind of think that that we think that you're going to follow your kind of your mother's?
Yeah. So average age of menopause is 51, but you know, if your mother went through it at 40, we say, hey, have you thought about having a family? Because your mom went through menopause early, so you might. We don't know if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a whole other set of genetics involved, but we always go, and when did your mom like that means
anything?
That may not be 50% if you're like. Not that I understand genetics, don't get me started.
Yeah, we even say like, you know, do you know anything about your mom's pregnancy history? If you're trying, as if there's some sort of loose connection. If there is, it's very thin.
My mum and I couldn't have 4 different pregnancies if we tried. Like, it was so easy. If I hadn't had a bump, I wouldn't have known I was pregnant.
But everything we learn is like from your mom, basically, because you don't get the knowledge in school. People are very afraid to talk about it, you know, in public. So growing up, you're just like, I don't know what's happening. And your mom goes, well, this is what I did. And you go, okay, that's kind of it.
And then I think what's really worrying, speaking about like, you know, different generations and stuff, and it's not just, you know, talking about older people, because some of the stuff we're really trying to do is aimed at older women, but the resistance that we get in our DMs is probably from a cohort that struggled arguably more and was told to get on with it and was told that was normal. And I think that it's a real issue that if you have to accept that you had a hard time and you could have had an easier time, to see people trying to make change is really jarring, because you have to accept inside, consciously or subconsciously, that actually my life was difficult and it didn't need to be. That's a really difficult thing to, when we see it, like Saskia's always like, Lucy, stop feeding the trolls.
So give us a sample. What are the resistance? What are they saying?
So Sas, do you want to say what you did with your coil, what you did?
Oh, yeah. So I was talking about getting my coil taken out. Like I was
Mhm.
off to get my coil taken out because I just really didn't like it. I didn't have a good time with the marina coil. I was on my way to have it out, and it was very painful to have it in. And I feel, for various reasons, as lots of us have had, like, I don't like going in and having the speculum and like all of that stuff. Like it just makes me go like, ugh, it makes me kind of, anyway. So I was talking about that, and for some people it's not easy, right? Getting the coil out is not easy, and I was nervous, and I kind of mentioned that I was going to do it. Anyway, then I mean there was just I think it was only one person, but this message like, you bunch of wusses. I can't believe, like, just
How did your
really
mum
laid into it. I know. How on earth do your parents cope? Like, oh my God. Just really, yeah. Kind of, yeah, shaming, calling out like a fear, like a not acknowledging pain, or a nervousness around pain, or like actual pain.
Wow.
And I think, yeah, I mean, I think there is this whole normalization of pain in our generation, but also in the generation above us. And hopefully now, like, there's definitely a movement right now to be like, no, pain, like experiencing pain is not normal.
Yeah.
Like that is not, like, if you are in crippling pain every month, or even not crippling, even just like pain, that doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to just be like, oh well, it's that time and I'm not going to be able to get out of bed for 3 days, so I'm going to take
Exactly.
really heavy painkillers. Like that is not how it has to be. And yeah, and I feel like that voice was really just the voice of, probably like Lucy saying, with being like compassionate, rather than it just actually being like some bot writing to us.
I'm sure she
But
it would, having had a little rummage of her corner of the internet.
no, she wasn't a bot. Yeah, I think kind of the compassionate side is like, right, yeah, you've had to put up with so much shit, and you had to just get on with that pain and keep going and not talk about it. And so it's hard to then hear people talking about it.
You have two options at that point. You can either be like, oh God, I could have had it easier, or be like, no, you're weak actually for wanting it differently. You're weak for wanting things to be easier, and I coped, so you should have. And I just think there have been a few messages in that vein, or where we've said something. I think we did pelvic examinations, and that was another one where people were like, just get on with it. And you're like, yeah, you can do that. It's awful, like it's miserable, and I think it's really interesting because I've had 2 coils, and I've had 2 coil removals, and I've had both of them I've had done differently. So I've had one anaesthetized insertion. I actually found a cervical block very painful.
Yeah.
Else after that was fine. And then I had like a removal just in a like sexual health clinic with it, and I was like, but then having to have it removed when the threads were lost, then you're talking about another cervical block, dilatation, cramps, feeling woozy. And I just think it's not necessarily saying you're going to feel pain and that's not normal, so you need to go and see a specialist and have a block. It's about saying, okay, so you might be fine. You might not be. Either of those things is okay. Because I think the danger is we're now going to start scaring everybody, because like, okay, that this thing is agonizing. Yes, it is agonizing for some people.
Yeah.
So you have to find the middle ground of being like, your experience is valid. And if your experience is not going well, you have a right to speak up and change that experience in your legs in stirrups. Like, it doesn't have to be dictated that you're in the room, so therefore it's over. And I think we need options as women and as people who have these procedures, not be told, okay, because I think there's the danger is that you end up being a different one size fits all. And everyone needs, it's a bit like birth choices. You need options. You need just open discussion about what could happen for every single eventuality, not just, well, it's medicalized, so that's bad, which is happening. I mean, obviously, Bridget, you must see this so much. Or it's, you must have a home birth, which could end up being dangerous. And what if you don't want a home birth? What, you feel like you're a terrible mother? Or you manage to breathe out your baby and everything's beautiful and wonderful, but maybe you didn't get that opportunity because someone pushed you. I just think there's just too many, there's so many, everyone's being pushed and told what's right and wrong, rather than just being like, here's your smorgasbord of options. Pick what works.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? It's like advocacy, right? Like you're trying, I think we often feel like we don't have a voice within those situations. Or many people feel like they don't have a voice within this situation. So everything becomes very binary. It's like you're saying, it's kind of this way or that way.
Yeah.
And what's actually been really enlightening for me in learning from Lucy in some of these videos is just like the power that you could, like, you know, that you can, of course, I mean, now I say it out loud, it's obvious, but I just think there's something about clinical settings that makes people feel like that you kind of can lose your voice, and there's lots. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, so what help do the rest of us have? So I think that, yeah, if we can do anything and it's helping people find their voice to like advocate for themselves and for their needs, and that feels really important.
So I mean, I completely agree, but you get these women sometimes who come in specifically for me, like if they're pregnant and they come in with their little binder and they're like, this is what I want. And then they're called difficult. Like the second they leave the room, every doctor's like, my God, she's so difficult. It's not going to go to plan. It's like, yes, obviously it's not going to go to plan. Like no one who writes a birth plan is going to get exactly that. Like you would be like reading a crystal ball.
Yeah.
But why is it that she's difficult? Because she read up on her shit and she knows what she wants and she made a decision.
Yeah. And it's navigating that. It's going, amazing. Why do you want those things? What's your priority? What is your absolute worst case scenario? Have you thought about that? Would you like to avoid that? Like open dialogue with that person who's having that baby or babies, rather than saying, oh, she's got a shopping list and therefore she's a bad person. You know, it's not, you people write people off. And that's the thing. It's like we get no options. We're told to, you know, just get on with everything. So the moment someone dares to say, well, actually, I'd quite like some music on, if that's all. You're like, well, you're just too demanding, aren't you, love? Like, it's just... Okay, well, I'll go back to putting up and shutting again, shall I?
That's exactly what happens, though. They're just like, oh, she's so difficult. But in reality, I mean, it's just people who did their homework.
Yeah. How dare they be educated and educate themselves?
Or you're told like you should just want a happy baby, healthy baby, happy mom, you know, it's like, well, yeah, no, I definitely want that. At the end of the day, I want myself and my child to go home alive. But there are some other things that I would like, if possible, if everything's going smoothly, why can't we do these things?
I feel like it's a bit dismissive when they say that. You know, like I get it. Happy, healthy baby is the best. But if there's actual concern someone is saying, and then that's your answer, it's a bit dismissive.
Yeah.
I know it's hackneyed, but I keep going back to, if this was an appendectomy, or an appendectomy, or if this was a wisdom tooth removal or whatever, would we be saying the same thing? Like, would we be saying, it doesn't matter actually if you're in pain, you're going to get your appendix out. That's the main thing. Like,
right.
You wouldn't ever do that.
No. Well, that was that like mad study that, did we talk about this? Did we share this about the C-section pain, looking into women experiencing pain, like being able to feel parts of the surgery?
I don't think we've done.
Did we just talk about
it? And again,
no.
Someone who did anaesthetics for a bit, I'm like, what was this? I need to read the paper because it's a New York Times article, but the videos are going around the internet. And I need to find out, like, were these emergency sections, were these women's with epidurals, were they topped up epidurals, or were they finals? You know, what tests were they having done before? Was it a crash section where, you know, time is just, everything's crazy? Or was this an elective, almost like completely not understandable? Was this an elective section where someone has had a spinal and is feeling like they can't speak up for themselves? Like, what were the settings? And is it varied? Is it just happening across the board? I mean, it's all totally terrifying that women aren't being listened to. And it's actually the Association of Anaesthetists, which was British, which has come out with some guidance that's referenced in this New York Times article, saying you need to talk to the women. But having done anaesthetics, I can't picture a single, doctor that I worked with doing. But that's the trap you fall into as a doctor. You go, no, surely we wouldn't do that to somebody. These people are coming forward with their stories. So I really need to find out more about that, because it's just terrifying to think that women, it's terrifying as someone who's having one in November.
Yeah.
to think that you could be in that position and feel everything and not be believed. Like, that would never happen in any other surgery?
No, not. I have been in one where it was an elective, and it just did not work. It truly did not work. They tried 3 times. It gave her more drugs, and she could feel it was a spinal, because it was an elective section. And yeah, we had to convert it, which you never want to do in an elective section. It makes you look so bad that you're converting it to a GA.
Yeah.
But we were like, listen, if you can truly, I mean, I had knife to skin, and she was like, stop. And so we had to like cover everything up. And we explained, like, you have to go to sleep then. And she was obviously terrified, because you're all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm going to be put to sleep. Like, this is massive surgery. And like, what's going to happen to my baby? And we're like, yeah, okay, I'm so sorry, but we actually don't have a lot of time right now, because we have now an open gash in your tummy. So we kind of need you to just like consent to this. Like, give us your signature. And you're going night.
I've only heard about it once when I was at medical school on my paediatrics placement, and it was the handover in the morning after. And
it happened to a friend of mine. This exact scenario happened to a friend of mine, and she had to go to sleep, and then she woke up and she was still in like terrible pain. I mean, it just, I don't think it's very common, right? But the thing that struck,
it happened to me, Bridget. That was me and Jack. Remember, because they didn't know mine wasn't working, so
you had a non-working epidural, but you were pushing, so that's different than.
No, he rolled me in though for the C-section, and to test, he took the scalpel on my belly, and I said, I can feel that, and then that's when he decided to knock me out, and I wasn't there for Jack's birth. I wasn't awake.
Oh no! I love the way that you came in. You came in fourth with the actual like first-hand story.
Yeah, it's you. Like, it's actually you.
Yeah, it was me.
But I mean, maybe it's not that uncommon, because it's happened to you.
Oh my gosh! And I'm there trying to block it out as like someone who's A, having one, and B, did anesthetic. I'm like, how? I've been there when they test it. How can they just be like, no, we'll just crack on? But all four of us have seen it happen, or know someone who's had it, or happen to themselves.
So it does happen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Good luck, Lucy.
My own cold spray to theatres.
Yeah. Amazing. What do you guys hope for in the future regarding both your platform and just like women's health? Like, what is your ultimate, like, if in your fantasy world, what does women's health look like?
I think that it is given the same weight and credibility, and that women, when they have a problem, or people with a female reproductive system, when they have a problem, they go to their doctor and they are taken as seriously as anyone else that has walked into the room. And I'm very lucky that I'm working again with GPs where the ones that I have seen with these, working with these issues are very understanding. But I know that is not the experience that a lot of women are having, and a lot of women who've come to me and told me that they're not having this experience elsewhere. And I think that is the one thing that heart sink happening most days, I would want to change. And that my friends, when they're telling me stories about, they're going to the doctor and whatever outcome they've had, I'm not sitting there thinking, oh God, they didn't ask you this, they didn't check that. And I feel like if you'd gone in with, something else, that you would have been treated differently, or if you'd been someone else, you'd have been treated differently. I think that for me would be a big thing.
And yeah, I mean, I agree with Lucy. I mean, imagine if I was like, nah, it's not possible about that.
More followers.
I think yeah. I really kind of, I feel like nothing is really going to get any better until the gender health gap doesn't exist anymore. And obviously this is huge, because it's a huge gap, and the stats around it are just like, when you dive into them, and it's like just mind-boggling when you kind of see it in black and white. Like, we talked about it the other day, that less than 2.5% of public funding in the UK goes towards like anything like reproductive health, gynecological, like anything, like, you know, you can see that there is no, that gap closing. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like hopeless.
Yeah.
Like really, really hopeless. And my, like, if this could achieve anything, I mean, the grand, like, the ambition for what nobody told us is that it can kind of grow this movement that makes a lot of noise and starts changing things at kind of a policy level, whereby there is more money going into pots of funding for research around this stuff, because until that research is happening, like, the dial's not going to shift. But also, like, you know, into health and into education and awareness, and that we can see that gender health gap closing, like off the back of our hard work. But I don't mean that at all. But I, like, that is, like, ultimately we want to create a better world for our daughters and our sons. But because I'm scared right now, I'm really scared for the world, and for many reasons, I'm scared for the world that my children are growing up in. But particularly as a girl, like, not being able to find your voice, not being able to advocate for yourself, not being able to understand your own needs, ask for what you need. It just feels like this kind of, it's not going to get any better. So
Yeah. I think it took me. No, go, Lucy. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I think it would be lovely that the education side of what we're doing wasn't needed. Like, it'd be so lovely.
Yeah.
It was like we were reading the alphabet. Because I don't think that it's the stuff that we're talking about, I don't think is necessarily comparable to being like, well, you're a doctor, so, you know, you can't expect us all to be doctors, which I think is slightly what people think when health education and stuff. I think some of this stuff is very much things that we live with day to day and affect us very frequently throughout our lives. And none of these issues are things that people are going to have once. You know, they're going to have multiple times, or they're going to have multiple issues throughout their life. And I think it's okay to be educated about those things and to have discussion around those things normalized, in the same way that you would say, well, you're going to run a marathon, you might want to get some new trainers, but break them in first. Do you know what I mean? You'd have some general advice that everyone kind of knows. And why can't it be like that about reproductive health? Why is it shrouded in mystery? And I think it'd be really nice to not have an audience, because everyone already knows it. And then to move into this issue when it comes to, like, policy and changing things. I think that would be lovely to be our next thing as well.
I think it has to come from removing shame, though, first. Like, it took me until I was in my 20s to just, like, grab a tampon out of my bag and walk to the bathroom and not, like, hide it under a sweatshirt or, like, in a pocket, or be like, I hope it doesn't fall on the floor, or even, like, say, I need a tampon out loud. Now that's like my little act of defiance. I'm like, I need a tampon. Did everyone hear me?
Nothing doesn't make it any better. When we're teenagers, it's a sugar packet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why are we hiding it as a sugar packet?
Oh my God, it's just terrible. Like, putting them in your boot, putting them in your bra, putting them in your sleeve. It's like, here are your options. Like, no, your option is to do what Bridget's doing and just walk out of the room holding one. Like, the kids are like, oh, okay, here's how I hide my. Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, that is such a little thing, but that is where I feel like so much shame starts. Because when you get your period, you could be like 10, 11, 12. You could be very young. And then it's like, okay, so you're going to sneak into your backpack. You're going to shove it down your sleeve and then hope that no one notices you in the school bathroom. And then just quietly just throw it away, but wrap it in a bunch of toilet paper so nobody knows what it is. And it's like, what? This is insane. What magic trick am I pulling?
And like when we were younger, I think we thought that this generation that's coming up now would have a handle on it all. And my middle daughter was telling me a story recently that she was in sex ed class again. You know, she is at an all girls school, to be fair, an all girls state school in London. So it's like, you know, pretty broad. Lots of people have been removed from the class. Lots of people are making jokes. Like, you know, it's a very, like, you know, range of attitudes. And she, because she's being brought up by me and my husband, was answering every question. And the reaction was, ew, why do you know those things? Why do you know so much about this? And I was like, oh no, now I've like messed up her street cred or whatever. But also, it's still happening. The shame is still totally there, that if you understand your body and know your body, you are a weirdo. And the boys are in the school down the road making jokes about wanking, and you know that's happening.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the girls can't know the answer to like, what are the options if you get your first period? Like, it's just terrible.
Oh God.
Yeah, you got to start teaching her to say, "How do you not know this?" and then just turn back around.
Yeah. Oh, couldn't pay me to be a teenager again.
Right. So we know that there is no research into women's health. The NIH published a systematic review in 2022 exploring it. So historically, this is kind of just like the, broad strokes. Historically, medical studies have excluded female participants, and research data collected from males usually is generalized to females, which is bananas, like so different. And those who are intersex do not have any reproductive anatomies with one or the other, are just completely overlooked. And a lot of reasons to preferring males in research is concerns for decreasing fertility or harming pregnancy. There's researcher bias from predominantly male researchers, and perception of the male as representative of the human species and therefore the norm.
The default male.
Mm-hmm. That pisses me off a lot.
Yeah, that's really fucking annoying.
Great podcast content that we're all just silently fuming.
Well, technically we all start off as female in utero, so why are we not the default?
Yeah. I just surely that it's a bit like how sports companies are finally latching onto the idea that actually if they do sponsorship with companies usually targeted at women, they'll actually make loads of money because women spend more on so have you seen this Formula One? So Aston Martin, like I would not know the name of this, I want to say car. Aston Martin Aramco has done a crossover with Elemis, and so they've got these gorgeous like racing green leather wash bags with like goodies in, and it's got the Aston Martin logo on, because women, if they like something, will go and spend their money on it in a way that men just don't. And I'm like, surely there's an equivalent where, like, we're out of the workforce when we're, got heavy periods or things like that. There's got to be an economic argument for like, just go and experiment on, if women want to be experimented on, go and experiment on them and find the drugs that work, because surely you'll open up more avenues. I'm not enough of a scientist, but surely there's an entire door you haven't opened, and that's not very sciencey to be like, I'm just not going to look at it.
No, but it's that whole, potentially will ruin her fertility. And it's like, there are people who A, don't want children, or B, are willing to risk it, or C, are postmenopausal anyway. And they're just like, nope.
The assumption that all women want children. So it's like, we can't do that because, she's a woman of childbearing age.
Yeah.
I hate that phrase, like as if that's my function from the age of like 12 to 40. It's like, it's just, horrific.
Yeah, it's terrible. So unfortunately, we're all thrown in that group. So that's why we cannot be touched, because God forbid you change your mind and in 10 years you want kids. They can't risk it. So only 22.9% of research actually mentions sex in the results, but females are only represented in about 37% of randomized control trials. And even if they don't mention gender, it's only 37% representation of women. So we're not getting enough representation, which means we'll never have the data to back it up. But just some more horrible facts. So just gonna fire them out.
Right.
Just to make you more
Yeah, everyone get fired up. So Yentl syndrome, which is named after, like Barbra Streisand, the old school movie Yentl. It's a phrase coined by Dr. Bernadette Healy that describes how, for a woman's illness to be taken seriously, she must prove herself to be as unwell as a male counterpart. So,
Yeah.
Yentl syndrome as a cause of delayed care for female patients. So, women, if you go in and you describe your symptoms, you might get delayed care, which means delayed treatment, which can obviously lead to mortality, morbidity. They may apply inappropriate, ineffective, or harmful treatments, or withhold effective treatment. So you have to prove that you are in as much pain as a man with a heart attack to be taken seriously.
It's a
Oh,
little
good
bit
Lord.
like the argument. I can't remember who said it recently, so I feel really bad. This is not my idea. Someone was saying recently that a way of being taken seriously by your doctor is either to take your husband with you, your heteronormative relationship with you,
Jesus.
and basically talk about the impact it's having on them.
What?
I think. Oh, I think I can't remember who said it, but basically that seemed to be the thing that actually made people start listening to her, was the fact that she was going, it's affecting my marriage, it's affecting my husband's sleep, it's affecting his work, was like an objective marker of like, okay, this is serious and it's affecting him.
Oh my! God forbid you die on him. Who's going to do his laundry?
Relationship to flash at your doctor. Like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Oh, so when it affects his work, then we can take it seriously. But God forbid it affects my work. Are you kidding me?
Well, because you're probably making it up, really, or you're a
Yeah.
You're too emotional, Bridget.
That's right. No, I forgot that. I do make up everything. I forgot that. Yeah, I just want to waste doctors' times.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh my God. That.
Yeah. And I used to see that quite a bit with anaesthetics when I'd get called to do like a difficult cannula, and it was for pain relief or something was happening. They were discussing pain relief or whatever, and so it wouldn't be a patient like beforehand known to me, and there'd be this discussion around, oh, she's asking for this, she needs this. I'm like, okay, you can give it to her. Like, she's in pain. Like, we don't tend to make stuff up for fun. That's a very small cohort of patients that are, exhibiting drug-seeking behaviour.
Yes.
You're not going to see it every night of the week, mate. Give her the pain relief.
Yeah.
There's a lack of reflection, I think, on the doctors at that point. And the fact that they're so open with it is always, it's a bit like people who brag about, or like tagging your graffiti. Like, okay, it's one thing that you think that, you're saying that out loud. Like, it's amazing, the lack of insight.
It's mostly with the female ward. You get a bunch of, unfortunately, endo patients, and every doctor on that ward will be like, oh my God, they won't shut up. They're in so much pain. It's like, what have you given them? Paracetamol? And you're like, okay, right. So the thing you take for a headache you thought would somehow cure her deep uterine pain. Like, what?
Do you think she may have tried that?
Yeah, that is a very common thing, unfortunately. Even among gynecologists, though, they're just like, oh God, an endo patient. Oh, great. She's crazy.
I think like Marissa and Saskia, as people who don't work in medicine so much, like, what would you say when you hear like that half, obviously Bridget and I are talking about experiences where it's other clinicians that are saying this stuff?
I mean, it doesn't shock me. It's kind of translates similar into the therapy field. There's, a bunch of people who still, like, older generation, think therapy's joke. Oh, talk about feelings, stuff like that. I've even had some of my own trolls on my therapy Instagram where it was an ad for couples therapy. And honestly, this had to be like a 13-year-old boy because the inexperience he was saying was crazy. And it said something about like, it's okay. You go through ups and downs, like come in for couples therapy, whatever. And he commented like, if you need couples therapy, that's not your soulmate because marriage should be easy. And if you have ups and downs, that's not your soulmate. I want to be like, are you 13? What?
I'm like,
oh my God.
No.
Crazy.
Wild. I was like, tell me you've never been married before. Like, how old are you?
Yeah. It's amazing. It's like a lack of insight can stay with you until even when you're then, because I think what Bridget and I are sort of experiencing is like, oh no, you're now in a position to affect change on these people, and you still hold those beliefs. Like, that's quite
and it's like you wonder why people don't speak up about things that's like things that are worrying them, things that are causing them pain, you know, like anything. Why it's hard to find your voice when, you know, that view can be quite pervasive, right? That like it's not real, or they're annoying, or they're making it up, or they're exaggerating, or, you know, they're hysterical. If we're going to go with the old tropes.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yes. And what's really
anxiety too. Like if I have clients who have, you know, general anxiety and experience panic attacks from time to time, if they have friends who don't have anxiety, they really think like panic attacks are just like all in your head, like calm down, like you can stop them. But there's like certain steps that they do to calm themselves, and their friends just don't understand it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's all in your head. You're like, yes, that's the thing that's controlling me.
Yeah.
That is the problem. You're quite right. That is the problem. Oh my God.
It's like we could talk about this stuff, right, for a very long time. And what we've seen as well is that, like, coming through messages and stuff that we get these like essays from women who just haven't been listened to, or like, oh, this thing, you know, we'll share a study, for example, like, you know, something like some of the things that we've been talking about, and then we'll get responsive, be like, that was me. And just in the way that we just have done, talking about the C-sections, it's like just I think it is that kind of female thing around kind of gathering and tending and befriending and like sharing stories and stuff. But I think there aren't even many opportunities for women to be like, hey, that same thing happened to me. That happened to you? What? Oh my God. And this is how it affected me, and this is how I managed it. And it's kind of wild that even like people are turning to us to tell their stories. Like these two random women.
Yeah, we could be anyone. We could be AI data gatherers, like, and women are, well, for the most part, women sending in their stories, opening up, sharing really intimate aspects of their life, and I think just want to be heard. They just want to be listened to. They've been, exactly like Saskia says, they've been dismissed, and there's always like a story. There's like a narrative. There's a this, and then this happened, and then this. And you just think, we've all got stories like that, where if you asked us, we could talk for hours, because it's so traumatic, or it changes like who you are on a very deep level. And you are still searching for, how did that happen, or why? Probably all just need to go and speak to Marissa from the sounds of it. But walking down the street, there are going to be so many people with those feelings and that history, and I'm sure you could say that about a lot of people, but the thing that our followers have is that thread it's about this one part of their body, really, and not being listened to.
I definitely think it's important, you know, like that women are sharing these stories, and then you're sharing them to your community so that they can see, they're not alone. There's so many others. And, you know, I feel like that's a good, like, village to have, you know.
Which is crazy, because we're the people who have to grow the future of society and birth the future of society, and usually raise the future of society. Even if you do have a great partner, you'd think everyone would want to know your experiences, because literally the future hinges on how we do.
These people who dismiss us seem to forget that like our kids will pay their pensions and be working and paying taxes that will look after their healthcare. Well, in this country, I don't know about you guys. Sorry, sorry, Marissa. You're on your own. But it's just horrifying. And like, I literally at the moment, I'm trying to. How wide is this going to go? Getting a little bit of some issues in the workplace, sorting out my mat leave, and I'm like, I cannot be the first pregnant person that. Like, statistically, that does feel unlikely, but I am need to feel like a complete inconvenience, and that is in the relatively cushy world of NHS healthcare in terms of how it's treated. I can't imagine like doing that in the private sector and worrying about my job for however long I'm off and all that sort of stuff. It's like,
best friend Shannon. She just started her mat leave, and she's in New Jersey, in the States, and she all her coworkers, not her bosses, like her coworkers who were older than her, and they didn't have state funded mat leave because they're decades older, like their kids are in their 20s and 30s, and they like shat on her and were like, "You're taking maternity leave? Like we didn't have that in my day." And she was like, "Well, guess what? I get paid, and I'm gonna take every damn day."
How long is it that she's getting?
What is it, Maris? 4 months or 6 months?
So, well, it's broken down into 2 parts. It's either 6 weeks or 8 weeks, depending on vaginal or C-section, and then after that, you get 12 weeks.
Which one gets
But
more?
that's C-section, because you get the 8 weeks and the 12. But this is only New Jersey. No other state in the U.S. has
Pennsylvania has one as well, but it's all based on your employer. It's not like
I love that they've decided which one's more traumatic.
Oh yeah.
I definitely have an easier ride after my elective sections than some vaginal things I've seen. That feels really unfair for some woman who ends up with some horrific
with a 4th degree tear who can't pee. But yeah, they just kind of like quantify it that way. But I mean, it's all semi-recent, Maris, right? Like maybe in the last decade or so.
I just can't believe it's not across all states. So like states that, okay, so if you're not in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, what, you're just screwed? Like you better get back to work?
Your private employer, whatever they allow you, which is normally only about 6 to 8 weeks, I think.
That's wild. Oh my God.
I mean, there's scary things about America, but mat leave is definitely up there.
I know that. I don't know what the hell is wrong. And then it's a very negative view where they say, if you take your mat leave now, you're not proving your worth at the company, etc. Right. And it's like, so then they have this blanket treatment of all women of childbearing age, where they're like, well, we could pay you less because you might go on mat leave. And if she's like, well, I'm, actually like I'm single and I don't want a kid. And they're like, but one day you're going to go on mat leave and you're going to really fuck us over and you're going to leave for 6 weeks. So now, it's really fucked up. But that is how people like justify the gender wage gap in the US.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I hear about that happening here quite a bit, to be honest. Just worrying about your job for your entire mat leave and feeling like you still need to be in touch. And then people being like, when are you going on your break? When are you like on your leave? Yeah. If it's like a holiday.
Yeah. Yay.
I would probably rather have mat leave than have to work. Yeah, but that's
no.
Today, it just means my work's quite hard.
Oh, fun times.
God, those stats that you read out, though, they're from the book, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're updated ones from the National Institute of Health. Yeah. So terrible. I have to just I had to stop doing a little research. I was like, this is pissing me off, and just, it just makes you mad. Yeah.
It is. It's like if you want that quick fire way to feel like utterly furious.
Yeah.
I think you know exactly what to Google. And it's like
exactly.
And you're like, oh, I'm there.
Yeah. Furious but helpless. I hate that feeling of like despair. That's what kills me. It's like, I'm not a researcher and I don't make policy changes. So, but like, who is going to fight in our corner? That's what I end up feeling like. So then I'm like,
That's why I'm so excited to be working with Saskia, because she does have these sort of ways of thinking that I think is so different to when you're a doctor. I think it's a little bit like the difference between being a public health doctor and being like a GP. I feel like I'm dealing with the problems in front of me, and I think Sass has got that broader, okay, but how do we actually make change top down rather than like I'm there being like, I'm going to tell everyone about PMDD this week. And and I think when you work as a pair, you have these very different perspectives, and I find that really exciting. I'm putting it all on you, Sass, basically, to change the world. Sorry. No.
Yeah.
But also, like, that's great because I'm learning what PMDD is. Like, I'm learning things every day. So. What a PMDD, combo!
I think it's rapidly following ADHD as just like we're all self-diagnosing.
Yes, that's the new endo, I think. Everyone's going to be like, wait a second.
Yeah. I think it's also that thing of just like, I don't know if I have PMDD or 3 days a month, I just can't tolerate any bullshit. And actually, that's the real thing. And then the serotonin kicks back in and I'm like, I'll put up with it again for another 25 days.
Absolutely. Right. So thank you so much to our guests from their platform, their page, What Nobody Told Us, which is really great. So everyone go check it out. Is your Instagram handle at What Nobody Told Us?
Yeah, that's perfect.
It is.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It has been fun and infuriating, and that's exactly how we like to end things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to do it again sometime. Thank you so much, guys. So nice to meet you, Melissa, and speak to you again, Bridget.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.